Christina Fernandez. Whenever you're ready.
I wanted to start off with an apology. I've been misled to think that delegations to an elected board of officials representing the publicly funded schools that I help fund serve the purpose to state a case, to notify those making the decisions impacting my children's education and well-being at the schools that I help fund. I know more now, and although I'm still learning, I will keep doing just that. It has been made unequivocally clear that it most certainly isn't who has the best argument that will invoke direct change to the decisions the majority of this board will make. The decisions that have perhaps already been made prior to any voice being heard, letters being read, or delegations spoken. After all, to keep doing the same thing and expecting different results would be true insanity. So then I stand before you as the merchant that I am to this corporation we all agree to call the Waterloo Region District School Board. And although I have not consented to many of the lectures, books, propaganda, assemblies, outside contracts, and even to the employment within this corporation at this given time, and to be clear, I do not consent, and because I was not informed, any consent would in fact be void. But that being said, in such a system, we agree to all of the above when we don't disagree. I've come to realize the tacit agreement that I and every parent shares with the Waterloo Region District School Board Corp every time we have our children sitting in the WRDSB seats, every time they walk into their classroom, the moment we allow them to step inside the corporate entity and remain silent. I know now that in law, silence is acquiescence. And when we stay silent, we say yes to the current offer to contract. The great news is that once we are aware of this offer to contract, we all have the right to respond, which can be done through conditional acceptance. And whereas we know that the concept of government and governance is rooted in the idea of social contract and agreement between the governing authority and the government, individuals collectively agree to create a government to maintain order, provide essential services, protect their rights, and ensure the safety and security of the community. The agreement often involves a trade-off where individuals relinquish certain freedoms and authority to exchange for the benefits and the protection that a functioning government can provide. The social contract is built on the understanding that the government delivers its legitimacy and power from the consent of the governed. Citizens grant the government authority to act on their behalf and make decisions for the greater good. Safety and security are paramount concerns for individuals and communities, and they often form the basis for the establishment and functioning of government. And of course, it's essential to strike a balance between ensuring safety and security and safeguarding individuals' rights and freedoms. While respecting the rights and dignity of their citizens, governments must act within the confines of the law. I know now that with a series of lawful notices, I can send a counteroffer to corporate executives and government officials stating that I will accept your offer on the condition that you can prove it to be safe. And whereas, where there have been a series of events, letters of concern, delegations to many who sit on this Board of Trustees to the Waterloo Region District School Board Corporation, including but not limited to the public censorship and silencing of a discerning teacher of 20 years at a 2022 board meeting, to ignoring letters and delegations from several tax-paying citizens, to issuing an open letter to the WRDSB Corp community stating that those who express concerns about known and/or anticipated harm that the books containing such sexualized and suggestive graphics and text could have to our children. And whereas parents and citizens believe that their rights and dignity have not been respected and are not in fact receiving any safety or security for themselves or their children in its exchange, therefore, I will agree to your terms under the following conditions. Number one, that you indeed make reasonable attempts to ensure the safeguarding of inappropriate material to children, and therefore vote in favor of Trustee Watson's motion recommending that the Waterloo Region District School Board develop a virtual library policy in regards to the age appropriateness of the literature, whereby the living men and living women who oppose this motion are to provide proof to the living men and living women with children attending the WRDSB Corp that not having such safeguards is not causing harm to these children, and whereby those who fail to refuse to provide proof that opposing this motion would indeed be safe could be subject to a daily fine of $53.33 or other, or of course have the option to resign from their current roles as trustee of the WRDSB Corporation. Number 2, that any living man and living woman who contribute to the open letter, titled An Open Letter in Response to the WRDSB Parents' Concerns on Friday, January 20th, 2023, will take accountability for said letter by signing their names to it and prove that the letter did not cause harm to the community within the WRDSB Corporation, whereby those who cannot or will not provide proof that the letter did not cause harm would retract the statement and do so publicly, whereby in the failing to do so, as stated in Section 2A, those who are responsible for the open letter could be subject to a daily fine of $784 or other, or of course have the option of resigning from their position within the WRDSB Corp. And lastly, number 3, that any living man and living woman who does not oppose sexualized material in the WRDSB Corp will prove that such sexually explicit content does not cause harm to the students of the WRDSB Corp, whereby any living man or living woman who fails to refuse to provide proof that such material is safe for children could be subject to a daily fine of $10,000 or more, or other, or of course have the option to resign from their position within the WRDSB Corp. And as I close, I'm reminded of how fitting the second motion Trustee Watson puts forward to us regarding competing rights. Changes to Board Policy 1012, Religious and Creed Accommodations. Although I'm left grappling with how we're even having such conversations, as I remind you that in addition to the declaration you all made to this community, all but one, as far as to the best of my knowledge, has also sworn or affirmed the oath that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the reigning monarch, either His Majesty King Charles III or Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Whereas when someone swears or affirms to be faithful and bear true allegiance to the reigning monarch, you are committing to uphold the oath and responsibilities that the king or queen themselves have taken. This includes respecting their authority and following the principles and duties associated with the monarchy as outlined by the reigning sovereign. It's a reciprocal relationship where both the monarch and the individual swearing allegiance have mutual obligations and duties to each other based on the principles of the monarchy and the Constitution. And in this current world that seems to identify with, above all, flesh and earthly measures, I remind you one of the promises you all made when swearing or affirming to be faithful and bear true allegiance to His or Her Majesty, that you are committed to uphold their oath, and I quote, "To the utmost of your power, maintain the laws of God and the true profession of the gospel." Thank you for your time and the earnest consideration to what these promises you've made mean to us, the people whom which you so graciously committed to serving. Thank you.
Yeah. Trustees, gallery, please. Trustees, are there any questions of clarification for the delegate? Okay. Thank you for your delegation this evening.
Thank you.